What's up, family? My name is Ben. Welcome to the Goalink Show. I am the host and your guide for everything Goalink. Goalink is a supportive community of growth junkies and life learners embracing weekly challenges. These challenges are inspired by mission-driven brands with a purpose to impact the world. So we use whatever their mission is and we tailor a challenge to level up, to make sure we're doing doable, difficult things, because that really is the easy choice. That's where the growth is embracing challenges every single week and every single day. It could be a cold shower, it could be waking up at 5 a.m., it could be journaling, meditating, or various fitness activities like taking yourself on a date or something cool like that. So that is what we do every single week, so make sure you stay tuned for after the episode to find out what this week's challenge is. And this week we have my amazing friend Brigitte on the show. She is a master manifestor. We talk a lot about that in the show, of how to get exactly what you want, how you can really manifest, sit down, feel it, and bring it, attract it into your life, anything you want. We've talked about how she's attracted wealth and how you can do the exact same. She even talks about, to a negative point actually, that she attracted wealth. She was getting the car, she was getting the house, and it didn't make her happy. And yes, that's cliche, but it's real, and you get to hear why exactly. We talk about manifesting a partner. She is just a genuine person, a genuine human. You can hear in her voice, you can see it in her eyes. I'm excited for you because she has a rad perspective. So without further ado, let's get into the conversation and enjoy this week's episode. All right, Brigitte, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for the microphone.
Yes, you are so welcome. I'm stoked to be here. I just feel, I was going to say odd, but I don't think it's odd, connected to you, just because I just think you're a good person. Because like, for real, like even look at your smile right now and just like how you're beaming, like I connect to that, and I can tell you're a good person, and I think I have a good meter. So I thought this would be fun if we started the interview with some manifestation recall.
Yes.
So some moments of just anything, like any manifesting memories that you have. Can you think of one right now?
Well, going back, first of all, thank you for the very kind introduction. Yeah. And, you know, just in the realm of the manifesting, like attracts like. So, you know, I think, excuse me, like when our paths crossed, I mean, there's an energy that comes out of people. You can see it in people's eyes and their actions, how they talk, how they post, because social media is such a huge platform today. And you do have a good meter for that. And and you know, there's a whole nother rabbit trail that we could go down with how we practice that, like with our bodies and with our mindset. So
let's go there right now. We can come back.
Well, I mean, it's true though. Like you
Yeah.
people have an aura about them, and they have an energy about them, like when people walk in the room and that sort of thing. But as far as like just a manifesting memory, wow. So basically just an overall one is I knew growing up and I knew in college that I wanted my business to be, all I knew was I wanted to own a business and I wanted to travel. I could always just see, I've always been a very visual and visionary person. And I could always see myself just walking through the airport with my bag, like just like I'm going somewhere.
That's cool.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what that business looked like. I didn't know any of the details. I just knew that I wanted a business that allowed me to travel. And, you know, throughout, like, after college, I looked at possibly being a flight attendant because I love to travel. And the first and only corporate job I had did allow me to travel for about 5 years because I traveled and I did employee training and did a lot of different things in the manufacturing facilities. But I'm basically living what I visualized in high school and college.
That's so cool.
Because now I own business and I travel.
That's cool. How often do you think about that?
Often, because then there are things where I'll visualize stuff and I'll see it and I'm thinking, okay, am I psychic or did I just manifest that, or is it both? Like, how did I know that this was going to happen, or how did I know? And, you know, I think it's a little bit of both. I think the more in tune we are, it's a little bit of both. So I do think back. I think it's an eye-opener on a small scale, whether it's going to be the parking space up front, to our business, to our relationships, to our children, to everything.
That's cool. So what are you manifesting right now?
So that's It's, really, I'm just in a space of just being open to what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I am at the most content space of my life that I've ever been.
Really?
And
that's cool. Congrats.
Thank you. But it's,
Yeah.
I don't really necessarily fit all the check marks, because there are some things that society may say, well, but you don't have this or you don't have that. But to me, I'm content where I am. But as far as manifesting, I'm really just looking to manifest the next level of business, of what that looks like. And I know for me and my personality, I have to allow it to just show up for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, the next step is more group meetings, like me leading group meetings, because I can reach more people, looking at doing retreats, classic manifesting. So I've been putting out there I started doing retreats like 4 or 5 years ago, like off and on. And so
Before they were cool.
Right. And now like everybody's in retreat. And so
Yeah.
I started back in like 2015. I did a couple and then I stopped. And then about a year ago, I've been working on them and just kind of brainstorming and putting ideas on paper. And literally this morning, somebody messaged me on LinkedIn. It's somebody that manages a retreat space up in Asheville. Have you ever considered doing a retreat? Because this is our retreat center.
Look at that.
I'm like, really?
I love it.
So,
yeah. See, look, and a very recent one too. That's so cool.
Almost daily.
Yeah, that's I totally believe in it, and I love that you thought about it like in high school and college, and then it comes true. You mentioned content. That you're the most content you ever have been. Why?
So I feel like it's because I've found like what truly makes me happy and what brings me at peace. So I know a lot of people speak on this, but I thought a relationship would make me happy. I thought buying a house would make me happy. I thought buying a car would make me happy. I thought buying this bag and those shoes and these clothes and traveling and having a career and having this status would all make me happy. But I would chase it and then I would achieve it. And then I still felt like discontent. Mm-hmm. And then it really took me full circle to, okay, let go of the bigger house, let go of, the car, let go of all these things, and literally taking me back to a foundation of, and it's not even about the things, but just finding true contentment in Saturday night. I was home by myself. All my kids were gone with their friends, and normally there's a side of me that it's like, euphoria is going on. Let's go out.
Yeah.
Let's do this. But I was so content just being home alone with myself.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's a huge step. And I know Jim Carrey has a quote, something about he wishes everyone could get rich and famous, because then everyone realized that's not the key to happiness, right?
Yes, I've seen that.
So do you think you have to kind of experience, you don't have to, but kind of achieving and chasing those things? Because if you don't have them, it's easy for, everyone thinks it's so easy to say. Mm-hmm. So I completely agree with Jim that everyone should experience some level of material success. Because, it's fun, right? Like, it's not bad by any means. Like, I'd rather be well off and comfortable. Mm-hmm. However, it's not like the ultimate purpose and fulfillment. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, and I think that we are meant to all experience those things, but it's whether or not it's our identity and if it's why we're doing it. Because there's people that are living their life purpose and naturally it's bringing them success.
Yeah.
But they're doing it not because they want to have, we call it the mansion and Mercedes. It's not about the mansion and Mercedes, but it's more about they're just fulfilling their purpose or fulfilling their happiness, and those things will just follow. But, I don't think everybody has to do that, but I feel like for a lot of us, it's part of our life lessons.
Yeah.
Because, there's, good grief, there's so many people like in your generation that are so evolved and in tune that you're not even having to experience a lot of the things that the older generation, is having to experience, because you just get it. There's the millennials or whatever the title is, you understand already that it's not about the 9 to 5. And I've said this, I'd rather own my own business and work 16 hours a day than work a 9 to 5. I mean, and I don't work 16 hours a day, but
well, just because it's the purpose
right
behind it.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Like it's still, you'll be tired and it feels like a grind sometimes, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. It just feels different. And that's because it's been two weeks. Yeah. So I've been out of my 9-to-5 job for 2 weeks and I'm brand new, fresh. And it's obviously I'm still learning a ton, but I have a call every Monday morning with a friend that kind of hold each other accountable. And this morning I told him, I actually feel a little bit guilty of like, what did I do to deserve, like, look, it's 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m. I'm still dressed in gym clothes. I laid at the pool this morning. I did like my meditation, journal, workout. I still had meetings, like, and then I get to have a dope conversation and like, I'm super grateful, but it's a weird, like, just because I want everyone to have it. So if I know I'll be fine, and it's like, but did you ever feel that?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And what really has helped me with that is being productive when I'm producing, so that when I'm relaxing, I don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
There are times when I have felt that, but we all choose our own path too.
Yes.
I mean, I've had friends that they have tried to have their business, or they've quit their jobs and they've been entrepreneurs for a short amount of time, and it's not for them. I mean, it's truly not for everybody.
True. And
that's cool. But at the same time too, it goes to a lot of the old philosophers, work smarter, not harder. Yeah. And I mean, so you're still getting the work done. You're still doing your impact. You're still fulfilling what you're wanting to fulfill. It's just that you can now do it in 4 hours instead of 8. Yeah.
And I realize, like, I am blessed to be making a living by living, right? Like, that blows my mind. And my friend told me this morning.
That's a good line.
Yeah. And he was like, well, dude, he's like, you made your choices to get here. Like, you made your own luck. Like, you were ready for it. Like, you took risks that other people wouldn't, like, throughout your life to get to this point, whether it's financially, momentum, like, you have done that. You've put yourself in a spot, so you shouldn't feel guilty. You should enjoy it. And I've even had some people, they live in Austin. They own this really cool app, and they've talked about just kind of feel overwhelmed by gaining users and downloads. And I told them, like, well, it doesn't have to be hard. What are your thoughts on that of, like, just, it doesn't have to, like, effort versus effortless? Like, what is that mix and that flow between trying to make it happen and letting it happen?
I think, because I think when it's meant to be, it is effortless. And that's what I would just, I love to, when I'm coaching with people or talking with people, I love to just ask them questions to help them discover their own answers. So when it's challenging for somebody, I'll ask them, why is it challenging? Or what are some things that you can do to remove those blocks so it's not challenging? Because, I mean, and I'm just as guilty of it too. I mean, I have pursued something thinking it was the right thing, and it wasn't the right thing. So I ended up being like the hamster on the wheel. And that's why, for me and my personality, I have learned it's got to come to me, and then I can just go with it.
And which I love that. And even so, I came to South Carolina almost 8 months ago, and a recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn. And because I had thought about sometime last year, I was like, it'd be nice to move out of Salt Lake, at some point in my life. And then I forgot about it. And then someone reached out to me.
Manifesting.
Right. But I had a girlfriend at the time. But I was like, you know what? Let's just hear it out. Like, it could happen. It could not happen. It won't hurt. And then eventually, I'm here. So, but, shoot, I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, about being effortless. I think
effortless.
Yeah.
Because that was like,
when
it came easily and naturally.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that loses my train of thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really feel like in everything, whether it's, I mean, I could tell you stories of like when I've sold my car, sold my house, started my business, like there's relationships.
Yeah.
When it's in alignment, it's effortless. I mean, of course you're going to have like some challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just part of it, but because it's the learning curves. But truly, when it's in alignment, it is going to be effortless. And like, it's just the stars will just align, as people say.
Why? That seems too easy, though. I know some people listening like, oh, no, that's too easy. Like, it sounds good.
Well, it's another term, the path of least resistance. I mean, that's just where, think back to, for example, when you moved to South Carolina, how easy was it?
Oh, at first it was like exciting. Like, I knew that I was embarking on a new journey. Yeah, it just happened. It was easy.
I mean, I'm sure there were a couple of roadblocks, like leaving, saying the goodbyes. But as far as the actual move, finding a place to live, finding or transitioning to your job, meeting people.
Very easy.
I mean, when you when you really step back and look at all the variables, I saw it was either Facebook or Instagram story yesterday where you were just in gratitude of how Greenville has welcomed you in. I mean, that's truly like one of the most challenging things I feel like when you move to a new city is really plugging into the culture, and just that you have just been welcomed in like that. Yeah. It's just confirmation that you're where you're supposed to be.
That's a good point.
So,
look at that.
Yeah, I feel like when it's meant to be in anything, it will be effortless.
When was the last time you were tested on your effortless?
Oh, daily.
But that's the thing is, like, it's funny.
It's every day. Like, it's
still effort. It's weird. It's like effort being effortless.
Well, I just, I mean, I believe in God. I mean, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I also am I won't say but I'm outside of the box of your conservative Christian, because I experience God, see God in other ways. And, I'm just one of those, I just put it out there. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Whether business, relationships, opportunities, workspace. I'm really big on following intuition. And, it's just everything from getting an apartment downtown to, should I do it? Should I not do it? And, it's one of those things like, what do you have to lose if you listen to your intuition?
That's true. Because it's always right.
And if something leaves, whether it's a person, a job, a client, then it's just clearing the space for something new coming in. Yep. I mean, we can get biblical on it where he quotes it in the Bible or in scripture, or, it's universal law. It's out there. I mean, you gotta, again, like even like in your house, to the relationships, to the business, you got to clean the old for the new to come in. Otherwise it doesn't all fit. Yeah.
And it's, again, easier said than done. But I think when you have that outlook of whatever's leaving, we believe that something greater is coming, like something better or more fulfilling. Like, again, it's hard to see because you're like, oh, this is incredibly painful. I just lost my job. I lost a big client. I just got my heart broken, because if you're just focused on that, but like there really is a purpose behind it.
Yeah. Well, I think when we can look at it from the outside in and see the bigger picture, it's easier, because in the midst of it is. I mean, the heartbreak is real. The client leaving, like that's real. Moving, it's all reality, but still, when you can see the bigger picture, it makes it so much easier.
I love that. Shoot, there's something else I wanted to ask that you brought up. But let's talk about, I love about wealth creation. Do you, like, what's been your experience making money of, just in general? Because I think money can be, again, it goes back into the guilt of making money is bad. So I grew up with that story. Both of my parents have never been well off. We've never lived on the street, but we've moved a lot. We had assistance, which I'm grateful for. But so my story sometimes goes along of like, just like money's bad, in air quotes. So what is your experience with just money and making money, more than enough money? What are your thoughts around that?
So I grew up not wealthy at all. So literally, like, my dream home was a double wide. I grew up in a mobile home park. Yeah.
Wow.
Single wide. When we moved into a double wide to the other side, I was like, okay, Daddy got a promotion. Like, we are rich.
Really? Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
True story. And we moved to a double wide. And when we moved to the upstate of South Carolina, we lived in a small town called Gray Court. You probably will never go there. But we only had a 4-way intersection. And like walked home from school every day. You know, I just paint the picture to where, so I never knew that we didn't have money. To my dad, I mean, we had money because we had our needs met. Mm-hmm. But to somebody else, we were probably poor. But my dad never talked about money. He never put any type of money mindset on. But as I got older, of course, I mean, for me in the beginning, like in my 20s, I was guilty of this. And I remind people of this. I was guilty in my 20s of comparing myself to people in their 50s and 60s who had worked for it for 30, 40 years. And, you know, wealth really is just a mindset. Because, you know, I have friends and associates and team leaders. They want to achieve $500,000 or $1 million a year. And many of them do, because that's what they consider wealth. You know, for me, the amount of money that I achieve or desire to achieve is wealth for me, but it may not be wealth to somebody else. I think it depends on cost of living and that sort of thing, but too, why you want to have that type of wealth. I, in my opinion, live very modest. I think I live some of my friends will laugh at that, but I feel like I live very modest, very simple. For me, my wealth comes in, I want to travel. I want to travel with my kids, and I want to provide, you know, for them, like simple things. Like my youngest wanted a AirPod case off Amazon, so fine, order on Amazon. He wants Chick-fil-A breakfast. Okay, we'll get, like, you know, I mean, it's not spoiling them, but like they know the difference. But two, as far, what really helped me with money mindset and prosperity consciousness was, there's a really good book. It's called Happy Pocket Full of Money. And it goes back to what we were talking about with like the houses and the cars and the things. And I'm glad I experienced all that, because for me, I realized that's where true contentment is. That's not where it is. But when you learn about money consciousness truly on a deeper level, money doesn't really exist.
Yep.
I mean, money is just, it's imaginary. There's a small amount of money that exists, but if you really think about it, it's just numbers in the sky. And it's you know, you borrow money from a bank to buy a house, you borrow the money that doesn't even exist. It's just numbers. You know, when you're like, when I'm paid every Monday through my company, I'm a 1099. So when I'm paid in sales, it's deposited in my account, which is numbers. I never really see it. It's just the numbers that get deposited, and I transfer it here, and I'm paying this and that. It doesn't even exist in reality. Like, how many people actually have money? And when I was reading more about this, I think it was the Depression. It was in the early 1900s. I don't remember like which depression it was, but that's why we had the Great Depression, is because when they thought the economy was falling, everybody went and took their money out of the bank.
Yep.
The money that didn't exist, and so it corrupted the economy. But when you really understand the money mindset of it and how money doesn't exist, like, money doesn't worry about you, so why are you worried about money? But then also, you know, instead of saying that, so I want to earn $50,000 so I can buy this new car, or I want to earn this money so I can travel this place, instead of just limiting to how that's going to show up, just put it out there in the universe. And just let it show up. Maybe somebody's going to give it to you. Maybe it's going to show up in another way. Like, don't limit that to your own income.
Yeah, I like that.
Did I explain it?
Yeah, no, okay. You're good. How do you teach your kids about money?
So they know to work for it. I mean, they have a... They have a value, so they have like accounts. Their dad is actually really good with teaching them with this too, but they have all like 401k accounts. But when they were younger, they would I would put money in jars for them, and they would put their money in, and some days I would put money in and take money out, and I would just teach them the visual of what happens to their money. Some days you're going to lose, some days you're going to gain, so that way they could understand. So
you would just take it out randomly for no reason?
Yeah, like without them seeing. So they would just have that visual. Now, I mean, they know to work, but it's also teaching them that work school life balance of like work, because, you know, if you want the new dirt bike, you're going to have to, you know, work for it. But then there's other things that they're cared for. So, you know, I think it just comes from teaching them a space of gratitude and like earning it, but not really earning it per se.
Yeah. Do you do any cool rituals as a family?
I'd like to say we do, but there's also older now. I mean, like one of our things is that basically the basic ritual we have now is, well, two of them is, you know, to make sure that we eat dinner at least once a week or every other week. Mm-hmm. And then for Christmas, we don't do gifts, we do trips. And so that's really, I mean, when they were younger, we would, but you know, mine are older now. They're like high school and college. I have 18, 17, and 14. So they're way older now. And so now, like, some of our rituals are very simple, like Chick-fil-A Mondays.
That's cool,
they get Chick-fil-A every Monday, like, going to school.
Yeah. Right, and I think, like, those are the things you remember, though. Like, me as a kid, like if I really think about it, I could probably think of, like, a gift, but I remember the trips more. I remember, like, the little things, like, going with mom to Chick-fil-A. That sounds much more impactful and important to me. Yeah. Because you're building those relationships. And
when they like want stuff, you know, I'm like, really? Like, how are you really going to wear that t-shirt like more than 3 times? Like, let's just think about this here. So, I mean, it's just really, you know, I think communication, conversation, I mean, that goes back to when they were younger. I've always had open communication with them. And I think because of that, down to like girlfriends and like moral decisions, just being completely open about everything, that now has trickled into like their money mindset. And then, you know, one of the things I'm teaching now, my second one, you know, going to college, and then my oldest now in college too, if they say something about like being worried about money, and I'm like, if it's meant to be, the money will show up. Like things that they want to do, I said, just don't worry about it. The money shows up. So.
Is it, I assume, I know, like people say it's the most rewarding, the most difficult thing being a parent. Is that true?
I don't think it's difficult. I mean, some people, I heard somebody say the other day, I was like, seriously? They were just talking about like what a curse, no, they called children the golden handcuffs. I was like,
that's unfortunate.
Wow. I mean, I would have had more, totally. I mean, children are your best teachers. They are truly your best teachers. I think when you have children, you think that we are the teacher, but actually they are the teacher. And there's a lot of things. I mean,
What's one?
Letting go. I mean, letting go. Yeah. Letting go I'll give you 2 simple examples of that. So one is, I'm a very methodical, systematic, neat freak. Like very type A personality. I mean, just very, you know, cookie cutter in a sense. And having them as young children helped me to let go of having a clean house.
Oh, yeah.
Now, they didn't destroy it, but I would want to sweep like 3 times a day or clean. I mean, it just, you know, I didn't like clutter, that sort of thing. So that I immediately let go. And then now to the lesson of letting go is my oldest going to college. You know, I don't have the communication, you know, the nightly dinners. I don't have that time with him like I used to have. And so it's basically like an adult to an adult type.
Yeah.
And so really just letting him go, letting him soar. He started his own YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
Like digital design. I mean, he's just like that sort of thing. Like he's just doing his thing.
Yeah. And that's one thing I remember, you know, growing up, and I use that exact same thing, going from just like my mom taking care of me versus now she's almost treating me as maybe not an equal, but like a peer.
Right.
And I remember being that so weird. I'm like, no, you're my mom. Like, do this, you know, like for me. But now it's more, you know, it's been cool to build on that relationship of just talking about things, just like what you're learning, you know, like just as an adult, like through life, and whether it's wins, successes, just like, yeah, like peer to peer. So that's been interesting.
It is. And I still tell them, like, you're always my baby. Like, because I'll say stuff and I'm like, you're still my baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And then is it, letting go. Yeah, because I can picture, oh man, like when I have kids, I can just see like even just like a baby spitting up on my shirt. Like I know I'm just gonna freak out at first. I'm just gonna have to like, I'm gonna get all new shirts and just get old ones. Anyway, what would you say is your most important failure?
Oh, let's see. So what I would consider failure, somebody may not see, but for me, and this goes back to the money and the house and the cars, I'm just going to be very candid because there's nothing even kind of show for it now, but so I've been in my career, I'm thinking like back in my head, that's why I'm like looking over your shoulder. So when I first started my business in 2013, 2014, 15, 16, those were my best years. It still does, I still do well, but I just bought so much. I'd want to say a cuss word, but I'm not, but I just bought so much stuff. Like just, I have nothing to show for it. Because I could, because
like what's one thing that just that was
like house, cars, bags, like I'm talking like Chanel bags.
Like you were balling.
Like yeah, I mean it was just, I mean I lived life. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. But I could have been way more responsible with my money. I've actually sold most everything, or I've given it away. But to me, I see that sometimes as a failure because I manage money wrong. But it could also be a win because I could show, well, I think my ego had to experience that. Like, this is what I did. Like, it's very liberating to be able for a woman especially to be independent and self-sufficient and be in that type of success. For me, it was, especially coming out of divorce. It was very liberating for me to be able to do that. Yeah. And I think I had to prove it to myself, and I felt like I had to prove it to people who felt like, I mean, because people would say, like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you need to get a job. And I was like, okay, I'll show you. So, in the ego, it was my way of just saying, I'll show you. And I did. But again, some people may not look at it as failure. I look at it as maybe not a failure, but it was probably one of my biggest mistakes. Interesting. That's probably what I would say. How,
like, yeah, you mentioned like as being divorced, as a single mother, and like that really does have to feel good though, to like produce.
Oh, for sure.
Because I can't understand that like as a man, because to me I'm just like I've grown up just expecting myself to do that.
Well, I think because you're a man. Yeah. So for a man, yeah, like it's natural. But for, because when I divorced, I started completely over, like literally started over. Like I had maybe, let's see, $1,300 a month as a foundation of income, and that was it. So, I mean, my kids and I lived with my mom. It was literally a starting over type movement. So it's very rare for women to start over like that. But that's for me how I chose to end our litigation of 3 years. I was just like,
oh, it went on for 3 years?
Yeah. I was just tired of fighting. I was tired. Like I was just emotionally tired, and basically was just like, just sign the paper. I'll just walk away, be done. Like I'm tired of fighting over the assets. And so for me, and because, a couple of the guys that I had dated after, there's like a stigma, like if you date a successful guy, like, oh, she's only dating him like for the money. And so then it was also, yeah, I mean, there are some out there like that. And I think you can kind of be like coin chasers or gold diggers, whatever you want to call them. But that too was another thing that I wanted to like put the nail in the coffin is like, I'm creating my own success. I don't need you. I'm here on my own. I'm self-sustained, self-sufficient, can self-finance myself, like get that sort of thing. But yeah, it's for women, it's definitely a different ball field for women because, I had to learn immediately about LLCs and S corps and taxes and insurance. Like guys know that stuff, but I I assume like guys just know, like as businessmen, you just know. But I was like, I mean, I've had like temper tantrums, like going to my investor's office at times going, why am I doing, like, this is not fair. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. But they're all lessons that I've ended up teaching. So I'm grateful for all of them.
Yeah,
as hard as they were at times, I'm very grateful of all the lessons.
Right. Like, do you mind going into the divorce at all?
You can ask.
Ask anything. Okay. So just to give some background, why did that end?
So it was a 15-year marriage, and it's, unless somebody's been in the situation, it's hard to explain, because it was not a adultery, an addiction. It was not, it was just two people that did not get along. And people can say, well, that's not why you're supposed to divorce. You know, as two Christians, I mean, we were both highly involved in the community and in the church, but it was a true awakening to what goes on the outside is different than what happens on inside the walls. Because from the outside, we were the picture perfect family. I mean, stay at home wife, stay at home mom, housewife, 3 kids in private school. We had the house, the cars, the plane, like we had it all.
You had a plane?
He did. I did, yeah. Okay. But he was working on his pilot's license. He is a super guy in regards to our kids. I mean, he's a great dad to them, but we just could not, we were just two different people. And it was literally just two people that had just grown apart. And I think if he could have accepted me as I was and just been like accepted our differences, like, okay, she's different in that regard, but kind of like with the spirituality, just, I'm different, I think different, don't judge me for it, but just, okay, that's who she is, kind of thing. It's not like I was doing like rituals and stuff, but you know, just okay, she sees God different, like that sort of thing. It could have been different because honestly, divorce was the last thing I ever wanted for my kids, because my parents were divorced, and I mean, we counseled for about 3 years before, and then when I separated with the intention that we were going to get back together. I had this fantasy in my head that we were going to separate, we're going to go on our own path, and then we're going to reconcile, we're going to have another baby, and we're going to live happily ever after. But when we separated, it just got worse and worse. And I thought, you know what? I can't go back. And, I mean, and you know, he's, like I said, I mean, for our kids, I mean, he's a great father. That's one thing that I could never argue, or either one of us could argue, is we both have parented our kids very well. Yeah,
but as a relationship together just didn't mesh.
No.
So what are your thoughts on whether it doesn't matter, man or woman, any type of relationship? Just, I feel like you can get addicted to something comfortable, even though it's not a positive relationship for you anymore. So what are your thoughts on recognizing that and then starting to work through that?
Through differences in a relationship.
Yeah. So
I think it depends on what the differences are, because I've been single 8 years. I've gone out with guys, and one of the differences is they want to have children. I don't want to have children. So that's a difference. It's not going to be.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
That's, you know, so there's differences like that are the obvious. You know, for me, and this is what, when I work with people who are single, is I did this and it works for me, is I create a list of things that I desire in a partner.
Yeah.
Qualities, personality traits, you know, their money mindset skill, like down to like they like sushi, just those things. And then, you know, kind of tapping into the manifestation of it is there are times that, you know, I'll just meditate like how it's going to feel with that person. You know, I don't know who that person is, but like to like feel it in the soul. Like, what is it going to feel like when we're boarding a plane together, or when we're having sushi together, or when we're hiking? Like, you know,
that's so cool.
It's like part of manifesting it. But there are some differences that to me are non-negotiable. And your differences may be different from mine. You know, for me, it's the children. For me, it's people who can't manage their alcohol, or if they're highly medicated. You know, those are just manage their emotions type thing. Those are non-negotiables for me. So
What if they don't like sushi? Is that okay?
Yeah, there's other things at sushi. Yeah, somebody else is asking. They're like, what if they don't like sushi?
That's
and
funny.
I've had people, they're like, you just need to burn that list because it's not happening.
Nope,
I'm like,
don't burn that list.
But I'm like, I disagree because.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So I love that, like, don't burn the list. And yeah, there's, a balance. I'm not a relationship guru by any means. Of course,
I'm not either, by the way.
Right. But like, there are some, but whatever. We're all learning. And there's give and take, always, for sure. However, why do you think that? Why shouldn't you burn the list? Why do you think you can have most of those things on that list?
Well, I know that I can because all of my friends, pretty much 99% of my friends, are in like content, stable, happy relationships. Not that they are perfect, but they're perfect for each other. Yeah. And so I don't think that there's a perfect person out there, but I do think that there's compatibility. And I've had to work through my own stuff too. I can be so guarded to where I'm like, I don't need you, or I don't like just be so guarded. Yeah. And I am guarded, but it's also, and I think everybody should be guarded to an extent. But I also I believe in that list because it's like going to Starbucks or like ordering a drink here. You have to be specific. Like when you order a grande latte with 3 pumps and sugar-free and
this metaphor.
You have to be specific. It's like when you do a business, Goalink. You're specific on the message you want to put out into the world. You're specific with the people you want and the content you want to portray. It's the same thing in a spouse. You got to be specific. Otherwise, you're just going to start attracting everybody under the sun. If you don't have a filter, then you're not filtering everybody out. It's the same thing.
I really like that. That really is the same thing. But you're just ordering the partner from the universe.
In reality, some
and
people
much more important than coffee.
But it is. In everything, it's just being specific and knowing what you want. You have to know what you want. Well, you have to know what you don't want to know what you want. And
that's part of relationships too. Like going through things, and sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's long. You find things that you don't like or that don't vibe or mesh together. That's just life with it too. So one thing I admire about you is that you mentor younger women than you. Why, or how did that come about? Like, what was that inspired by?
So I feel like it's actually a 2-part answer. So I have a different type of relationship with my mom. It's a Vietnamese culture, Asian culture. And so there have been times where it's challenging for me to communicate with her on things because I feel like she doesn't understand me. I'm not saying she doesn't, but it's just some things that I feel like there's a culture barrier, there's a language barrier. And so there have been women all the way since I was in high school, like older women in my life that have been there for me in a very motherly way.
Cool.
And so it's really just kind of evolved where even probably 15, 20 years ago when I was working in youth ministry at our church, and girls will just, for whatever reason, like just attract to me, and they'll just talk to me like, okay, I'm dating this guy, and I'm like, girl, like you realize there's like 50 million other guys out there. Like, why are you so attached to like one? More. And but then not even like on the relationship side, but on self-esteem, like when they're rushing through college, like whether this is inappropriate, that's inappropriate, that sort of thing. But I feel like because of the women that I've had in my path that were motherly to me, it's just naturally trickled down into other women. And because I feel like the women's place in society and in the home is so powerful. The man is strong and head of the household, but there's also a strong female foundation with it too, because I don't know your relationship history at all, but when you have like a nagging or a not good relationship, it's very exhausting. Like it's emotionally draining. And teaching women, like, why are you insecure, or why are you nagging him, or, like, let's break this down, because you are actually a reflection of, you can either help build him up or you're going to help tear him down. Interesting.
What's the most common insecurity you've seen mentoring young ladies?
It's with guys. And I think it just goes, it's back in, it's the guys that can't well, I don't want to speak for guys, so I don't know. But
I can speak for
but
them.
for women, it's for women, it's the insecurity. But I don't know that you're like the typical guy, because like they get these guys that are sleeping around, and they're just they play like these games and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's girls, like, have your standards. Don't sleep with them the first time you meet them, type thing. But it's insecurity, and it comes out in a way where it's being possessive and being catty. But then I see it like how they dress, and then how they're posting on social media. I'm like, the guy that you want to attract is not going to really like that. Yeah.
So what's the balance of that? Because I go back and forth, because I feel like, yeah, girl, like, do you, like, if that's your self-expression, show skin. However, I do see some point of, like, if you're showing skin and you want a guy, I don't know, like, how, like, in your mind, how does that not attract the right guy?
Well, one thing, I'll say this too, one thing that I found working with girls and in my studies, girls who tend to be more promiscuous, it all roots back to, like, daddy issues. And I truly feel like that's one of the reasons why I have been so grounded in that, is my dad and I are extremely close, and he has always poured belief in me and like faith, and I'm not promiscuous. So I think when I look at that, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But James Dobson wrote a book about that, bringing up girls, and that's where I got all that from. But what was your question about the girls showing skin?
Oh, yeah, just like, what is your, like, why does that not attract the right guy? If a girl feels,
it might be the right guy for them.
Okay.
But
if it's in conflict of who they're trying to attract, I guess.
But from a guy standpoint, do you really want your girl, like, showing her everything, unless she's a bikini model or a fitness model? But like, would you really? I don't know. I mean,
so my answer personally, I think in the past it'd make me uncomfortable, because I'd be insecure that other guys are seeing you.
Right.
Now it's more of, how does it make you feel, and why are you doing it? Right. And trusting. It's like getting out of my head. Like, it's not a me thing. At the end of the day, if you're doing that, like, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, because that's controlling, and I want to trust you and whatever you want to do. So yeah, my thing would just be supporting that woman of, why are you doing it? Is that empowering to you? What message are you trying to send?
Exactly.
Or are you covering insecurity?
Right. Well, and that's a great question. And that's the thing really in all of it, is why are you doing it? There's always a cause that creates the effect. A lot of times girls can be doing it because they want to get that attention from other people. Like, oh, you look amazing. Oh, you're so beautiful.
It definitely happens.
Like, you're this and that. Listen, there's, I don't know, in 5 years, I've put out a handful of, like, pictures in bikinis, or, I don't think they've been, like, very fitting for what the message was. Yeah. But it's not from a, hey, look at me type standpoint. But it's been from a very supportive, it fit the message.
So do girls think differently of guys if they just post, like, pictures with their shirt off and stuff like that?
I think if they do it all the time, yes.
Yeah.
Again, I think, like, girls can just be, it depends on the girl. Personally, like, girl or guy, my pet peeve are people that do selfies in bathrooms and the toilet lid is
the toilet lid. Because I always do, like, because for me, I'm always, like, if I'm, like, even when I'm outside, I'm, like, shirtless. Like, especially being in the South now. I'm like, yep, it's warm. I'm freaking going,
Yeah, well, but that's your lifestyle. Yeah. I've seen some of your videos, and you're like, hey, I'm out, and you're, like, you're doing stuff. Like, you're active, and that's your lifestyle. Yeah. You're not, like, in Target parking lot, You're at the gym, you're doing your meditation retreat or your yoga, you're doing your triathlon, like, that sort of thing. Like, it fits the message. Yeah. Again, it's your lifestyle, but if it goes back to what you were saying in the very opening, was you can just get a feel off people. Like, you can get a vibe. I think you can just get a vibe off people.
The vibe. Okay, I love it. So we're going to start wrapping up a little bit. And I have a segment in the show that's called Scroll My Soul.
Okay.
Which what that means is I keep a list of running notes on my phone, you know, it goes to my computer, of whether it's conversations, podcasts, documentaries, anything, Instagram. I keep just a running list of inspirational quotes or thoughts. And then I randomly scroll through, I stop, and then I pick something. I read it aloud, and then you tell me what it reminds you of or what it makes you think of or resonate with.
Okay.
Cool?
Cool.
And this is, I think, perfect for what we just talked about. Work hard at the things that come easy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so work hard at things that come easy.
Yeah.
And so you want to know what comes to mind?
Yeah.
I think it basically, as it is, like work hard at things that come easy. I feel like when the opportunities come to you, like always entertain them and see how you feel about them. It doesn't mean you have to say yes to everything. Yeah. But if the door has opened for you, then it's something clearly I feel like that you deserve to take a look at. And if in your soul and in your mind you feel like this is what I'm supposed to do, then give it with everything you have, like mind, body, spirit. And I've also learned not to make immediate decisions, where even to the point like when I put my house on the market, when I bought a house, sold a house, car, I always give it at least like a day or 24 hours. And I'll let people know, like even on the call before I was telling you about before here, you know, I was talking to him about a business thing that he wants me to consider. And I said, you know, email it, let me look at it. I'll get back with you in the next 24 hours. Because, I mean, I think we get so caught up in the emotions of things and excitement that it's like, okay, let me just like check it out and then go for it. But yeah, I mean, when it's effortless, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I really do like it. You can take it in so many different ways. Initially, when I heard it, I think it might have been Atomic Habits, the book, of like whatever you're naturally good at, work hard at that. Like what comes easy to you is not going to come easy to everyone. Same kind of thing, just that's where enjoyment and like fulfillment comes.
Well, you know? Exactly. And so one of the things that my mentor of like 11 years has taught me, and I've really learned to apply this more the last couple of years, if it's not fun, don't do it. Because like, you know, it's not going to, and that's probably where like sometimes we can feel guilty.
Yeah.
But if it's work and if it's not fun, then you know what, energetically you're putting that out there, because they're like they're feeling like you don't want to be there, or you don't want to be doing it, or they're just, people are going to feel that. But if you're having fun with it, you know what the emotional funnel is, where you vibrate higher, like decibels. You can look it up later, but there's an emotional funnel. So you vibrate at so many like beats per second. And so people who are in like anger, resentment, negative feelings, they vibrate lower. But as you get higher up with like joy and love, and of course the top is enlightenment. That's why like sometimes people can walk in a room and you're like, who is that? And it can be like, she looks, I mean, you can get a read on that person, good or bad. Why some people can just radiate when they walk in the room and just own the room, and why some people you're like, okay, she looks crazy, you know? And so, let's see, there's a reason I was telling you about the emotional funnel. But yeah, I mean, when it feels good, just go for it.
Yeah, you reminded me of something. Like one of my affirmations every day is like, I am the light, and like be the person that lights up the room. Don't wait for someone to do it, and like being intentional with every single thing I do. And I remember my mom, it was last Christmas, she was living with my brother, and then she stayed with me. No, it was actually when I came out to South Carolina to interview, she actually stayed at my house. And she gave me a compliment of just like as soon as like staying here, there's like good, you can just feel it. And like, I'm used to it, but getting that compliment, I'm like, oh, okay, I like that. Because I remember walking to other people's homes and you feel that. And because you can feel the difference. It's just very interesting. Of like just security or just anything, just good vibes.
Yeah, you can definitely feel it off people, for sure.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, tell everyone, because you are in network marketing, that's what you do for your job. Some people might know them as MLM. There's quite a few people listening in Utah, so they definitely know what that is. And it's isogenics, correct?
Yes.
Also, people probably know what that is. I've drank it. It's like, I love it. It's very good. So if people are wondering how to work with you, your downline is insane. It's like 80,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. It's freaking crazy. Just so everyone knows, that's a phenomenal downline. And what that means is you have 80,000 people that you've recruited, or the people under them have recruited, mm-hmm. and therefore. Right. So tell everyone how this business has changed your life, and if they're looking for something to switch it up, why to consider it.
As far as network marketing?
Yeah, or working with you.
Yeah, so, and I have everything at my website, BrigitteBartley.com, but for me, network marketing, when I was actually a product user for a couple of years, and I've used other network marketing products, and I've looked at other companies, but when going back to my divorce, when I knew it was time for me to do something financially, I had 2 other jobs lined up, but working a 9-to-5 just would not align with me, because all I kept thinking was, I can't pick my kids up from school. I can't spend summers with them. I can't spend Christmas break and spring break with them. And when I went to an event and I saw other people building network marketing, and I read a book, it was The 4-Year Career, and similar to other sales, when I really understood the breakdown of it, I was like, this is a no-brainer, because with my passion, I've been working nutrition for probably 8 years prior to that anyway. I had already been using the products a couple of years. Like, it literally all aligned. Mm-hmm. But what we have been talking about, it just really all fell into place, and I just went for it. And for me, it's not for everybody to do full time. And I tell people, even from a product standpoint, the products are truly life-changing. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in detoxing the body. I'm constantly on some sort of detox. But detoxing the body, putting dense nutrition back in, and even from a product standpoint, it helps. But even just to have that extra stream of income, just to either get your products paid for. But I mean, who can't use an extra $500 or $1,000 a month? So
how $500 or $1,000? How many what kind of business do you have to do to get that?
So when I start people, I always mm-hmm. ask them to bring in a couple of friends, and that's what activates your business center, mm-hmm. is just having two friends or family start with you. So that activates you and starts you getting paid. But then and I think you're familiar with mm-hmm. it, but people just naturally accumulate underneath you. But similar to referring a restaurant or a clothing store, you're recommending something to everybody. Like for you, I mean, you're built and you're in mm-hmm. shape. I'm sure guys sit around hey dude, what protein are you doing? What BCA are you doing? And what pre-workout are you doing? Uh-huh. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it's all word of mouth marketing. We do it all the time. We just don't realize it. But for some reason, when people do this business, they have this stigma or they have this block. I mean, you can recommend, protein powder and pre-workouts from a nutrition store easily. Yeah. But for some reason, some people, you mention Isogenics or, another company, and they're like, I don't know, I can't do that. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is interesting. Why?
I don't, and it comes down to, we're all selling something.
All the time. And ourselves.
We're always buying. But the thing is, we don't like feeling sold. I don't like feeling sold.
That's true.
But we're buying all the time. And that's why my approach to selling and network marketing is different than, I'm not a hard sell. It's just not my method.
Yeah, I can't see you buy this fucking thing right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else on your heart, mind, or soul that you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered it. Mm-hmm. I appreciate the opportunity for you giving me the mic. The only thing that comes to mind as far as, because I'm holding the microphone and thinking microphone, and I've talked about this before on the talk show, but I was the girl in high school and growing up that got picked on for her speech and her language. And so you'll see, because you've seen me out socially, I naturally am a quiet person, and it goes back to the childhood stuff of how I speak or how I talk or the language. And I kind of laugh now where I'm all of y'all who used to pick on me and bully me, I was bullied bad. Mm-hmm. And now I have microphones.
All right. And that is cool. And it's funny. I grew up introverted. There was definitely some moments of courage that I had. However, so with my mom and dad, before they're divorced, 5 kids. And then a stepbrother and a half-sister, so there's 7. But growing up, I for sure was just the quiet one because I didn't need to talk. My family's like they like to talk and like make jokes and have fun, you know, so I was just like, I don't need to. But it's interesting, I realized being in that situation, whether it was speaking up in class or like being afraid to talk to a girl, that later that served me for this because of listening and asking questions.
Right.
And it's probably just how you were raised. Now it's just funny how, again, it goes back to the pain that has a purpose, or those negative things can turn to positive things. And it's just hard to realize in the moment, because I used to think like, oh, I'm so shy, or like, why am I not talking to this person or doing this? But I became an observer and a listener, and my few words that I choose to speak are like a good question.
Right.
And it serves a purpose.
It is true. Yeah, I couldn't understand my family because they all spoke Vietnamese. That's another reason. But yeah, that's, you know, it's just, I guess, as far as you said, like last minute, just overcoming fear and like just doing it.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, though.
No, Bridget, thank you. This was awesome. And I think we might have to do like a manifesting challenge this week or something.
Totally.
Of like sitting down. Actually, before we end, let's, you can go listen to like Joe Dispenza, but let's just quickly, if someone has never manifested before, like what does that look like? Like how should they try it out?
So, give me a specific topic. So
well, I guess people might already be doing it, they just don't realize it. But let's just say they want to, let's go back to the partner thing. So you told them how to make a list, and I loved how you talked about how it feels like to walk on the plane together. It's very specific.
Right. Okay. So that'll be
the feeling. Yeah, let's go there.
So Joe Dispenza is phenomenal. So I love him. And you know what people don't realize is thoughts become reality. They do, because when you think it and you think it and you think it, it stores into your subconscious mind. And what happens is you've got your subconscious and your conscious mind, but when you're constantly programming that, people don't realize that subconsciously you're filtering that out. Like your brain is doing, that's why some people say, well, why do I always attract the same person? Well, it's because subconsciously that's what you have been programmed to do. So as far as like manifesting another person, which, yeah, I'm not going to say soulmate because that's a whole nother topic where I think you are yourself the soulmate, but manifesting like a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a future spouse, just getting clear on what you want, like very clear, like what are the things that you can see you doing together? What are the qualities that he or she has? You know, whether they like to work out, whether you want to do yoga with them, whether you want to train on a marathon, like literally getting specific. Like
that's cool.
They like sushi, where they like to travel, down to the personality traits. I mean, sexual, like all those things, like writing it all down, and then just like reading it out loud. And then you're putting an affirmation in there of just like, I am worthy of receiving love. And just closing your eyes and just imagining it. First, like take several deep breaths to really clear your body out neurologically. And then like that, after you've read that list and you've stated your affirmation, take a few deep breaths and then just like visualize what it feels like to be with that person. Not the actual person. You can't put an actual person in your manifestation, just the soul, but just manifesting that person. Like, what is it going to feel like? Like you feel so happy getting on the plane. Like you feel happy getting off the plane. You feel like just how you feel. You've got to feel it first. And that really goes in line with your business. It goes in line with everything you do. You have to feel it first. You're not going to be content when you reach the wealth. You've got to already be content and the wealth comes.
Agreed.
So feeling that first, feeling all of it first, but specifically for your spouse, and do it. I mean, I would do it for like 20 minutes, but you can do it for 5. I mean, do it for at least, just do it every day. I mean, there's, you know, if people want to say like she's hocus pocus, like just prove me wrong. Like just do it and then tell me in 30 days.
Wow, 30 days.
Well, okay. Yeah, 30.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to freaking do this. And I'm going to do 30 days. Okay, we're coming back. We'll check back in.
He's going to text me in 10. I met a girl.
That'd be crazy. Okay, well, Bridget, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate this. This is awesome.
Thank you, Ben.
What's up, y'all? I hope you enjoyed that episode with Bridget. And if you did, please go leave a comment, give it a like, go on iTunes and leave a review. If it impacted you, if it gave you one thought, please go leave a review and share it with someone who you can make a difference in their life today. So this week's challenge is inspired by Brigitte and Illumin8 Your Life, which is her business. We want you to manifest something this week. So in the next 7 to 30 days, we want you to manifest it and get specific. So it could be a partner, it could be money, it could be anything you want. Like, for real, think big or think small. Well, don't think too small, but whatever big or however big or small it is to you, you can manifest it. So like what she said in the interview, sit down, you gotta write it, make sure you're specific, and meditate on it. Whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the morning, really think about it and read it and feel it. How does it feel when you have that thing in your life? Feel as though you already have it. Feel as though when you get it, but feel those feelings now. Do this every day and just watch the magic happen. You don't know when or how, but watch it come into your life. Watch it come into fruition. And I would love to hear about what you're manifesting and how it comes into your life. So make sure you hit me up. So leave a comment, follow us at Goalink Group on social media. For real, we love to be part of your leveling up journey, part of your growth. Please join us so you can see what I do every single week. Usually on Thursdays, I post my video, my experience with each week's challenge. Yes, if I tell you what to do, then I need to do it myself as well. So this week's challenge, manifest something. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. Write it down, repeat it, meditate on it, really think about it, feel it as though it's already happened, and watch it. And if you don't believe us, try and prove us wrong. So go do it. Thank you for joining us. If it's anyone, it's you. If it's anytime, it's now. Have an amazing week.